Welcome back to another episode of the RW podcast. I have a regular coming back. He's back. Tim from Ethical Hunting Accuracy on Patreon. Tim, how are you doing?
Fantastic, Austin. I'm up to my eyeballs and all I can handle. I'm freaking slammed. I got so many different things going on that I can't wait to tell the world about. But for now, I got to zip my lips and just trying to keep putting one foot in front of the other, getting things done. So overall, really good though. Good problems.
That's good. That's good.
Life's good.
So we've been talking, like, what do we want to talk about next? I thought the fast, slow barrel concept was really fun to talk about, but apparently no one really cared. So we're going to move on to a little more mainstream that people love to talk about. And hopefully this is good information we can give people. It's going to be elk hunting cartridges and what's really necessary. Basically, we're going to talk minimum for both of us and what's really needed. I think a lot of people go into, especially people back east or Midwest or basically where there aren't any elk or very little elk. Tim, I am of the opinion that most people already have their elk cartridge.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I think this is, and we spent about an hour on the phone yesterday talking about this and all the different things that are worth mentioning and discussing revolving around elk hunting. And I think we're trying to figure out a place to start. And I think basically minimums, like minimum requirements, is probably the best place as any to start. And we're doing this in March. So guys that may have an elk hunt this fall have time to start thinking about it. And think about if they already have a rifle that's suitable, if they're going on their first elk hunt or another elk hunt or whatever, so they can start thinking about what they have and what they might want to use and get that ball rolling, get that equipment, get that new bullet or new ammo or whatever, start practicing with it now and get proficient with it before it really matters, where it's not summer's over, I better figure out what I'm going to use for elk hunting. That's you're too late.
Yeah, I better start my load development in August.
Yeah, so you should be doing that now when it's cold or colder wherever you live, and try to get good information at a similar temperature to what you're going to be hunting in. So we weren't really 100% sure where to start, so we figured we'd start here and talk about basically minimum requirements to ethically take elk and what I recommend and what you would recommend or use. Basically by caliber, by bore diameter. When I say caliber, I mean the size of the hole in the barrel,
not the cartridge.
Not the cartridge. It's cartridge, guys, not caliber. Cartridge is this thing. This is cartridge. Caliber is the size of the hole in the tube. So by the size of the hole in the barrel, what are the minimums that I suggest, and what would you suggest going up, basically up to 375? And we'll see where we land.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's start off like we always do, kicking the hornet's nest or the little hornet's nest. Let's start out with 224 caliber. Tim, what do you say?
Terrible idea.
I agree.
Absolutely terrible idea. I know there's some people out there that are promoting that, using anything 224 for elk, whether it's a 223, I don't care what bullet, 22 Creedmoor, I don't care what bullet. I think it's a terrible idea to try to shoot elk with a 224 caliber. I mean, yes, if you have something that'll kind of hold together and you hit it in the head, that's one thing. But if you're trying to hunt ethically and shoot the thing, either at the base of the neck or in the vitals and the shoulders, something like that, 224 is just not enough. And speaking from experience, I'm an avid prairie dog shooter, and we use Hornady 80 grain ELDMs, which is very similar to the 77 grain tipped Match King that's promoted for elk. And we shoot prairie dogs and hit them square with 80 grain ELDMs. And sometimes they cartwheel and you get a show, but sometimes they run off. It's like if you're getting a prairie dog, which is not much bigger than your cell phone, to run off when you're hitting it at 200-300 yards, what makes you think it's adequate for an elk? Just a terrible idea. And the people that cook this stuff up, I don't know if it's an ego thing. It's got to be an ego thing. Like, I don't understand it, but it's dumb. You should never be using a 224 for anything for elk. And I guess, and you're in the same boat. I know you are. We talk about this,
Yeah, rock slide is not a
unfortunately,
fan of
more than
me.
I want to,
Yeah, yeah.
because you bring it up. It's so dumb to me. But moving up the ladder, next would be 6 millimeter 243. Some states have that as the legal minimum. I still think it's inadequate. It's just, it's not enough. It's better than using 224,
Hmm.
because you can shoot something, if you have adequate twist, you could shoot something like a 90 grain Hornady CX, or a 100 grain partition or something like that, where like it may be viable for like a cow elk or something like that, but there aren't any circumstances where I would take a 6 mil anything after a bull, even a spike. I wouldn't. It's not enough.
I had a friend as a kid growing up as a teenager. He used 243 all the time in Colorado for elk. And looking back on it, he says, yes, it worked. No, I don't recommend it.
Right. And that's the story that I hear too. When people do have youth hunters that take elk with 243, they're shooting it sometimes 5 to 8 times, to get it to stop running or moving or getting up, or, actually get it to expire. And to me, that's when suffering starts to come in for the animal. And I'm not really a big fan of that. Like, I
Hmm.
enjoy hunting, but I don't want the thing to suffer either. I want it to be quick. The animal deserves that, and it's I guess it's a respect thing. And so I get it if it's a youth hunter and you're trying to get them into it. Maybe instead of a 243, which they may already have for deer, 260, 6.5 Creedmoor, 7mm 08. The bigger the cartridge they can tolerate the recoil of, the better. Because at the end of the day, and we'll get into this as we go on here, but bore diameter has a huge effect on your ability to kill the animal quickly. So even if there's not a lot of powder pushing it, just having a bigger hole is going to help matters.
Tim, what is your absolute minimum for elk?
The minimum I would ever carry up the mountain would be 25 caliber, and
Okay.
it wouldn't be my first choice. I guess
No.
let's start there. So if you were going to do it, if that's the minimum caliber, as in bore diameter, I want to go with insurance. And to me, insurance is monolithic bullets, so they're going to stay together and penetrate deep. And then I want them going as fast as I can possibly push them. So we're talking basically 25 Weatherby RPM with a 117 LRX or a 112 CX as fast as you can push it. And a trend you're going to see here, so I might as well say it now. If I'm shooting at an elk, I'm trying for shoulder shots.
Right.
I'm not putting it behind the shoulder into the ribs. I'm not counting on a lung shot to take him down quickly. He's going to die if you hit him in the lungs, but it isn't going to be fast. He's going to run
No.
you're going to hit him. He's not even going to know he's hit, and he's going to run like a jackrabbit until he runs out of gas. And that may be a mile away in some awful, canyon that you don't want to go to. If you hit him in the shoulder, now you're taking away his wheels and you're still hitting the lungs. And you're sometimes hitting the spine, sometimes hitting the autonomic plexus, which is like the nerve bundle that comes off of the spinal cord and goes down into the organs and into the front legs and tells everything how to work. You're hitting all that at once. You're taking away his ability to run. Like, so shoulder shots, no matter what caliber we're talking about here. So that said, 25 caliber, I'm thinking 25 RPM, again, 112 CX, 117 LRX, fast as I can push it. And I'm aiming mid body, right in line with the front leg, going through the shoulders. And I'm hoping for an exit.
Yeah.
So 25 RPM or 257 Weatherby Magnum with 100 grain Barnes or 101 LRX, whatever it can stabilize, depending on the twist rate you have. If you have a custom gun, you could shoot the bigger monos, but 100 grain TTSX, 101 LRX, and I'm going for the shoulder. And then I'm still going to limit the distance because I'm kind of undergunned. So, I would say maybe 400 yards maximum, because I want high velocity impacts and a lot of shock, a lot of trauma, as much as I can put on the animal with that smaller caliber. And then again, shoulder shots to make sure that it opens and expands and actually does what it's supposed to do, and hopefully exits and we get a blood trail and it
Yeah.
takes his gas away really quick.
What is your minimum velocity? you want on impact, not at the muzzle.
For monos, higher than the manufacturer recommends.
Absolutely.
So my minimum, no matter who makes the mono, even if it has a tip, 2200
I agree.
high. And that's higher than the manufacturer recommends. If it doesn't have a tip like the old school TSXs, 24, 25. I mean, high. Because those things
Yeah.
don't like to open. They're super hard, and you're counting on material to go into that little cavity to get it going. And when you hear about monos penciling through, that's often what does it, is the old TSXs where you don't hit it in the shoulder, so it's back in the lungs. That doesn't present a whole lot of difficulty for a TSX, and it, especially if it's going fast, it'll just zip right through.
Hmm.
If it's going slow, it's even worse because now it's not presenting much of an obstacle for that bullet. It's going to zip right through and not do anything. Or if you hit the shoulder with an old TSX, it'll still work, but your margin for error just drops dramatically. So any mono you're going to use, I like to see a tip on it because a tip acts like a splitting wedge to get the thing going. So even on tipped monos, 2200 minimum.
All right. This could go into a whole nother video topic, which we are going to do more than just this part one. This is going to be multiple parts to elk hunting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little teaser, Tim. Would you ever use a cup and core? So just the old style cup and core, whether it's a high BC or an old, Sierra tipped Game King. Would you ever use them on elk with these lighter calibers?
No, never.
Okay.
It's inadequate because for me, elk, they're so tough, and people say, well, it's just an animal, they're not invincible. But I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen elk do things that you have to see to believe. I want to take away their ability to run, and I want an exit wound because the exit wound is what actually bleeds.
Yes.
The exit wound leaves the blood trail on an elk. And a lot of people don't know this. I teach this on my Patreon, but the exit wound is what leaves the blood trail, not the entrance wound, not on an elk. On a deer, an entrance wound will leave a blood trail often, but on an elk, the hide and the muscle closes up around the hole. You get one drop where he was standing when you hit him, and he runs off. If you don't have an exit wound, you got nothing to follow. So you better have snow so you can see tracks. And even if you hit them in the engine room, sometimes they can run up to a mile. So
Yeah.
I want a leak so I can follow. I got something to follow, and I want to hit him in the shoulder to slow him down, hopefully take away one or both legs. I want to anchor him.
Hmm.
And cup and cores, for the most part, are inadequate for that. There are certain circumstances, which we'll get into, where they're not
Yes.
inadequate. But on lighter calibers, especially if, smaller calibers, I should say, especially if you have high impact velocities, the cup and cores, especially if they have a tip and it acts like a splitting wedge, that turns that cup and core into a varmint bullet.
Yeah.
They overexpand and oftentimes blow up in the first few inches. He's going to get gangrene and may die eventually, but he's not going to be yours to keep. And, he's going to run off and whatever. He'll be fine. So I think it's just a terrible idea. For me, when you talk about these lighter, smaller caliber cartridges, monos only. And then you'll see the trend as we get larger, then I start to tolerate and be okay with bonded bullets. And then when you get big enough, you have more flexibility. So you'll notice that trend as we go on here. But the smaller stuff, 25, 6.5, monos only.
All right. Should we move on to 6.5?
Well, what about you? I feel like you're kind of in the same boat, but
I am. Now,
or do you want
I
to just
am.
chime in if there's something you disagree with?
I think bonded bullets, well, we'll get into this. I'm not
Yeah.
yet
So
to
by
my
caliber,
minimum. I'm not to my minimum yet. I know
your
you said
minimum's higher
25.
than mine.
My
Yeah.
minimum's higher because I just want a bigger bullet, as in diameter.
Right.
That's
So
what
I said 25, and I told you my circumstances where I would use it, and you're saying 25 you wouldn't use.
not for elk.
Okay. So now we're
But
on to 6.5.
opinion. It's just my opinion. And you know what they say
Yeah, and
about
that's
opinion.
okay. Yep. And that's this interaction is what we want here. That's
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And I'll use bonded bullets. I love them. Maybe a little too much, But I 100% agree. If you are wanting two holes in the animal, I 100% agree with you. You have to do mono for these lighter
Yep.
caliber. You have to.
Yep. Because especially on an elk, and people like to lump elk into one thing. A young cow, people are like, well, I've shot elk, blah blah blah, with this, and it worked fine. And you dig a little deeper, and you're like, well, what did you shoot? Well, it was a 2-year-old cow. A 2-year-old cow compared to a 7-year-old bull, they might as well be completely different species. A 2-year-old
Hundreds of
cow
pounds of
is
difference.
yeah, double. A 2-year-old cow is probably, 18 inches through the chest. A 7-year-old bull, he might be almost 30 inches through the chest. They might as well be different species. So we have to clarify a little bit here as we go along, but
Okay.
I think so, because I think they're completely different things. And anybody who's shot multiples of both will agree. They're just
Hmm.
they shouldn't even be lumped into the same category.
Okay.
So now if we go up to 6.5, and you tell me where you think bonded bullets start to play a role. If we go up to 6.5, I still think you're undergunned.
I agree.
But you can do it, but same story, just as the same as the 25s. I want the biggest cartridge that I can get, basically. So for me, it starts at the like 6.5 PRC, 6.5 Weatherby RPM with a 127 LRX or 130 CX or bigger cartridges.
Okay.
So 6.5 RPM is bigger than 6.5 PRC. One step bigger than 6.5 RPM is not a step, it's a jump to the 26 Nosler. And then another jump over that is a 6.5 300 Weatherby. And no matter which of those four cartridges you're using, 127 LRX, 130 grain CX, fast as you can push it. And same deal, probably 400-yard limit.
Hmm.
Even though your impact velocity with those cartridges is going to be way over 2,200.
Yeah.
To me, 2,200 is the minimum when we start getting into the bigger cartridges. These smaller caliber, 25 and 6.5, I think your impact velocity should be much higher. 25, 2,600. We want as much trauma as we can get because we're under gunned on the diameter.
It's still not my minimum. Sorry, I'm a 6.5
Okay.
hanger.
Passing
I'm a
6.5.
6.5
Well, I
hanger.
know you are. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you've never been.
However, you have basically converted me to 6.5 Weatherby RPM. I love that cartridge.
That's a cool
And
cartridge.
and yes, if I was in if I had to, yes, I would use it on elk, but it is not my first choice by any means.
Right. And we kind of skipped over the 264 Win Mag, which was way ahead of its time. That's a spectacular cartridge. Unfortunately, when it was made, the BCs weren't great. So that, and then the 7 Rem Mag came out, and then the 264 Win Mag just disappeared into obscurity. But if you have one and it has a modern twist rate on it, that's like a grain or two bigger than the 6.5 RPM.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be, 30 to 50 feet per second faster when treated the same than the 6.5 Weatherby RPM. So that would be an option too. But same deal. You want a heavy mono going as fast as you can push it.
Okay.
So, and 6.5's out for you. So now we're on to
270.
270.
277.
So why don't you start with 270 and tell me what you think about that?
That is actually my minimum, is 270 Winchester. And I'm going to say, as far as bullets, I'm going to be shooting a 129 or 130 mono. However, I'm a huge bonded fan. If you're going to use a bonded bullet, I'm going to go 150 grain in 270 Winchester. And I want that going as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So pushing that 2,900 to almost 3,000 if you can with the proper barrel length. So
right, you're leaning on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with those 129 and 130s, you're gonna. I want them over 3,000 feet per second, closer to 3,100. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and I would say I'm in the same boat. That's for 270. That's the starting point for me. Is Jack's old baby, 270 Winchester. If you have a standard 10 twist on it, the biggest mono you can stabilize, or even like a 150 partition, I think it'll kill an elk, but is it going to exit? Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, it depends on what you hit. If you hit it in the ribs, probably. If you hit it in the shoulder, it's not.
No.
So that almost kind of disqualifies the 150 partition for me. Bonded, yep, heavy bonded. But then even then, I may favor off the shoulder a little bit. And then he's going to
Hmm.
run like a jackrabbit. So yeah, whatever mono you can stabilize. And then if you're not going to use a 270 Winchester and you go to something like a 6.8 Western where you have the faster twist, then I'm going to push the Barnes 155 LRX and aim for the shoulder. That would be my first choice.
Hmm.
Second choice would be 150 or 165 Accubond long range, or the heaviest traditional Accubond, and I'm still aiming for shoulder
Yeah.
for
Okay.
those. Once I'm into bonded or mono at 270, then I'll go for the shoulder. That's kind of the crossover point for me, where once I have 270 and a good bullet, I'm going shoulder. And if it's bigger than 270, always in the shoulder.
Okay. I like that thinking. So, shall we go into what you probably think is the sweet spot? And I also kind of have to agree. The sweet spot for elk, 7 millimeter.
Yeah, and we could do a whole live stream on this, or multiple, on why I think 7 millimeter is optimal
Hmm.
for elk. And it's not because it's the most effective at killing elk. It's because with the bullets that are available and the velocities you can push them at, the high BC monolithics and that sort of thing, high BC bonded bullets. The reason the 7 is a sweet spot is because most people can tolerate the recoil, so
Hmm.
they're likely to practice with it and actually become proficient, which increases your hit probability. And what I already said, the high BC and higher velocities you can push them at also increases your hit probability. So you're more likely to use it and hit it. And then when you do, because if you don't hit it, none of this other stuff matters, right? Like, let's dumb it down here. You have to hit the thing. So if you hit it and you're able to hit it where you want, and the bullet has the velocity and construction to do the job, that's why I think the 7 is kind of the sweet spot. And as you go bigger than 7, you start to really suffer a recoil penalty. You gain bore diameter,
Yeah,
but the
which is good.
recoil starts to offset. And generally, as you go bigger than 7, you start to lose hit probability for the reasons I just mentioned. You're less likely to practice with it. It's less likely to be attack driver because of the cartridge, the gun, and you. But then also your velocity and BC ratio starts to enter a point where your hit probability is actually dropping
Can I share a personal
holistically
experience? Like
compared to
me,
7.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so me, the guy that loves magnums, I am right now avoiding loading up more 300 rum because the rifle it is in kicks you like a freaking mule. It is not fun to shoot.
Yeah,
And
the 300 rum, I classify. If you have a 300 rum with no muzzle
3145.
brake, I call that unshootable. That's my term for guns like that. Is once you get even like 300 Weatherby with no muzzle brake and bigger,
It's rough
it's in a 9-pound gun or something like that. That's
or less.
unshootable. After, I don't care who you are, after the first shot, you're flinching. Record yourself and find out. Set your
Yeah.
phone up, turn it on record so it's pointed at you, and shoot a group. You'll see you're
Yeah.
flinching.
Oh
So
yeah.
now your hit probability goes from whatever it was to triple because you're flinching. And
Anyway,
that's not a place you want to be. So
so
um, so getting
back.
back on seven
Yeah, yeah.
millimeters, it's just a sweet spot. It's not that it's the best at killing the animal once it hits. It's that you're most likely to hit it. You're most likely to practice, become proficient, and just it's kind of the best of all, master of none kind of deal. So for me, cartridges, I think it starts at 7 PRC. Really, you could use a 7 MMO8, but
What
you
about
start
280
to,
AI?
well, 280i. Yeah, I mean that's 280i. I just glanced over that. I would say 7 MMO8 is the very minimum.
In very
But
short distances, right?
right, yeah, 7 MMO8 with a like a 145 LRX. out to 400 yards. That's probably the bare minimum. 280 AI. If you have the twist, you can go up to a 160 CX or 160 LRX and get it going at least 2850 to 2900. And then if you can get 2900, now your max effective range at altitude where elk live is 600 yards, 550 to 600, where the bullet's going to arrive at least 2100 feet per second. So, maybe between 5 and 6 are the boundaries. 280 AI is the minimum there. So really, it's about how far you want your max effective range to be, where a 7mm M08 will do the job, but only out to 4. If you want to go farther than 4, now you need a 280 AI. You want to go farther than, say, 550 to 6, now you need a 7 PRC, 7 rem mag. You want to go, and the farther you want to go, the bigger the cartridge needs to be. So, okay. But 280 AI is a great choice. And as we go into these future live streams, we'll go into what I would pick under what circumstances and what hunts and why, and we'll dive into all that. But for now, I would say 708 145 LRX, 280 160 CX or LRX, or 145 LRX, or that new 152 that they made for it. Mm-hmm. So 145 and bigger LRX, and then 7mm M08 or larger. And I'm aiming for shoulders and 2100, 2200 feet per second minimum impact velocity.
Well, let's get up to my favorite caliber. Despite me saying how much I did not like shooting at 300 rum, I think that was mostly the rifle setup, not the cartridge. Yeah, obviously the cartridge does play a lot into it because you're, loading it with 90 grains of powder. But I love me some 30 caliber.
Yeah. So for you, was it 280 AI as your minimum? We skipped
yours. 7mm? Sure.
I know you're not a 7. I know you're not a 7 guy, but
no, it has nothing to do with that. It's just I'm leaning towards 708, but I want to limit my distances to 300.
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes all the way back to wait, you're okay with the 270, which is only a little bit smaller diameter than a 284.
Right, barely. Yeah.
Barely.
7,000.
Those are the closest calibers.
Right.
And then I'm jumping up to a 270 Winchester for that. So I'm trying to make a logical sense of this.
Think about it though. There isn't really a short action 270.
No, there isn't.
The only one there isn't in production. It was a Wildcat, and it's not in production. Where
so you want to count 277 Sig Fury?
Yeah, I don't.
No.
What is the name of that? It was, and we can edit this out if you want, but there was a cartridge that Dale and I are talking about that. It was basically a
27308.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
270 Redding is what it was called. Okay. It was Richard Beebe. He ran Redding for a long time. It was Richard Beebe's baby. It was a Wildcat he designed, and it was a 308 or 708 neck down to 270. Mm-hmm. That would still work if you had adequate twist to, shoot a bigger mono or a bigger bonded bullet. But yeah, when we go up to 7mm, you're saying 7mm M08 would be okay with same bullet, 145 LRX, but you're limiting it to 300 and in.
Yeah. I just want as much impact velocity.
Yeah. And frankly, 300 and in encompasses most hunters in most hunting situations. Let's be realistic.
We're going to get into that later. What is realistic compared to what you see on YouTube?
Right. Yes. And that'll be a separate live stream, but that encompasses most people. I mean, most elk are killed inside of 250 yards, frankly. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into that more later, but all right, let's go up to your babies, the 30 cals, your bread and butter.
Yes, which I'm all for shooting the biggest magnums if you have it in the proper rifle. If you can actually shoot it, I love them. But I found out last week when it's not in the right gun, it is not fun to shoot.
You're right. This thing is crazy.
That 300 round. So what is your minimum?
And this is where we started to get into that. Like I was saying, the recoil penalty, where. To me, the minimum would be, and I've said this to you before, and it kind of blew your hair back, but if you run the numbers on it, you can have adequate, if you run it up to maximum pressure, you can have adequate expansion velocity with a 308 Winchester and a 175 LRX out to 400 or 500 yards. Now, you're going to get pushed around by the wind because it's dumpy and slow and all that, but there's enough there to do the job. Plenty of elk have been killed with a 308 And same deal, if we're talking about limiting it to 300 yards and closer, it's plenty adequate, but I'm going to want a mono because I don't necessarily have high sectional density and deep penetration on my side if I go to like a bonded or a partition. Now, they're still perfectly suitable to kill an elk, but they're probably not going to exit. And talking what we were talking about earlier, that's where you kind of get stuck with the 308. And you can use it, but my minimum would probably be a 30-06 and with the same bullet, with a 175 LRX. And then I'm going to stand on it with N550 and get it going as fast as I can. And I'm aiming for the shoulder and hoping it exits. And it may not because when you get up to 30 caliber, you have bigger surface area. So when it mushrooms, you have a lot bigger surface area and you really kind of run out of sectional density to penetrate super deep. So a 175 to 180 mono would be iffy on whether or not it would exit. It depends on the actual size of the elk and what part of the scapula you hit and the angle. And like it may exit, it may not.
Well, let me give you a little example. This is kind of a mono bullet. My friend shot his elk, spike elk, by the way, not a full bull elk, with 175 terminal scent factory ammo running, and he was going right at box velocity 2750 out of his 30-06. He shot it from 150 yards. All the hits he had, they all exited. So
good.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's a hybrid bullet where it's not a true mono. Yeah. It's not a true mono, so it's going to expand more and slow down more than an equivalent weight mono would. Right. And despite that, it's still exited.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's encouraging.
But it was only 150 yards.
Right, so a lot of mustard when it hit. Mm-hmm. Now you start adding distance. Would that exit? It depends. And like you said, it's a spike, which is the same as a really big cow elk, because a spike is usually a 2-year-old. 1.5, 2. So they're not very big. So yeah, so that's kind of where it starts for me is 30-06, 175 mono or bigger. And like you said, you can get as big as you want. I think this is where we start talking about the crossover for me, where we haven't really mentioned bonded bullets.
I have, but you're kind of like, no thanks right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it like 270. You can use a bonded, but it's got to be heavy. 7 mil, same thing. It's got to be really heavy, and then it may or may not exit. 30 caliber, same deal. I think you're still at a point where you can use bonded, but for me, bonded bullets that are likely to exit on elk in 30 caliber start at 200 grains. 200s and 210s, you got a good chance of it exiting on a shoulder shot. Not guaranteed. Where partitions, they mushroom too much, and generally they don't exit. Most of the time, you'll find them in the hide on the offside, where it'll go all the way through the animal. The hide will stretch out like a catcher's mitt, and you'll have a perfect partition there. Well, that doesn't count as an exit because it didn't go through the hide. So it's not going to leak,
Right.
You got full penetration. He's going to die, but you didn't get a blood trail. So, partitions are great. They kill stuff. They don't check all my boxes because they don't exit.
Yeah. Well, the most recent elk I shot was a spike elk with a 300 Weatherby with a 200 grain AccuBond. I hit it up in the lungs, and it definitely exited. But it was a 50-yard shot with my loading being extremely overpressure and very fast on accident.
Well, and you hit it in the ribs, which doesn't present a lot of structure.
I did not hit in the shoulder at all.
Right.
No.
Right.
But it was
hit him
DRT
on the shoulder. Right. Yeah. Yep. And had you that much energy, he's toast. But had you hit him on the shoulder, it'd have been a coin flip exit.
Maybe. Yeah, I agree. Just to give people an idea, this was, maybe we'll talk about this someday later about how much barrels change from an initial loading if you're starting your barrel brand new compared to maybe a year later after putting a couple hundred rounds through it.
Yeah.
But to make a long story short, the load I'd made with this 300 Weatherby 200 grain AccuBond, I was pushing it 3,200 feet per second out of the muzzle, which was very overpressure. So it hit that elk at like over 3,100 feet per second.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's moving.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
3,100 feet a second impact velocity, you're having,
over
Roy
4,000
Weather,
foot-pounds.
yeah, Roy Weatherby's, ideal situation.
Yeah,
Super high impact velocity, and animals do weird things when you hit them with bullets that fast.
yeah.
It's like you have a light switch effect, even if you don't hit them in the right place, and like they just drop. So, are we ready to move on from 30, or is there anything else you want to say about that? I mean, we kind of glanced
Well,
over like big
yeah.
magnums. You can use big magnums. It's just what I said earlier. There's a recoil penalty. The cost to shoot them skyrockets. Your ability to shoot them well drops dramatically just because you're afraid of it, unless it's a heavy gun with a muzzle brake and whatever. They can be made to shoot very pleasant, like you mentioned with the 3378 howitzer you were shooting, how it was pleasant. And if you watch the video, the rifle does move you quite a bit, but I think it's because you're not like really sucking it in and really leaning into it. You're just casually shooting it at the bench and kind of letting it, not free
Mhm.
recoil, but you're
Almost
letting
free
it kind of do
recoil.
its, yeah, you're letting it do its thing. If you put a really good muzzle brake on a 300, like my buddy's got a 300 rum, and it's like a 9
Same
pound
hole.
Browning, and we put a very
Holy
effective
crap.
Terminator T3 muzzle brake on it, it's a pleasure to shoot.
Yeah.
And before we put it on it, it was unshootable.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't shoot it. He shot 2 rounds through it, and he's like, "I'm not shooting this thing again until we put a brake on it. I'm done."
It's crazy.
He's like, "I'm flinching. This is a waste of time."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like you can do it, but you have to put the rifle in and it's not a, oh, you sissy, like let's get over that. Okay. Grow up. It's not, oh, you're a sissy and you can't handle it. That's not it. We can all handle it, but you can't shoot it well. Like I
Mhm.
said, record yourself. You all have a smartphone. Record yourself and shoot your giant magnum from a bench with no muzzle brake and record yourself and watch how much you flinch.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. I record myself shooting all the time. Trust me. Like you will see everything.
Mhm.
You'll see whether or not you're blinking when the gun's going off. You'll see lots of stuff. It's a very useful tool. So you can do the big magnums. You're going to have more effect on the animal, more energy, more range, all that. But when you start losing shootability, which isn't a word, when you start losing your precision potential and effectiveness with that gun and your willingness to practice, then you lose me. You went too big.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I'm all for 30 caliber magnums, but you got to put it in the right setup and you've got to practice with it and be
You got to put the
comfortable with
work
it.
in. Yes, you have to put the work in. You can't just, well, I got this giant magnum and it's too expensive to shoot, so I don't want to shoot it. Well, then what did you buy it for? You're supposed to shoot these things so you can actually be proficient. Like
Yeah.
if you overbought the gun and now you don't want to shoot it, get something else.
Yeah.
Get something you're willing to shoot. So we could do a whole derail for hours on this. But I get heated when people say stupid stuff like that. Like, get a smaller cartridge, use the thing. So
Well,
next we're on to, oh, you got
speaking of
something else you want to say?
unshootable stuff, should we go to 338?
Yeah. So
I'm I'm
what
skipping
I
8
did,
millimeter. No one cares about that.
well, I lumped it in.
Okay. Okay.
I lumped in 8mm and 338. They're kind of the same thing.
Close.
8mm is what, 323.
Mhm.
So it's closer to 338 than 308. So we'll just kind of lump them together. I'm not going to talk about any 8mm cartridges. I guess I would start with probably a 338 or not a 338, an 8mm Remington Magnum. I'd go right to that.
Not even like an 8 millimeter 06. I mean, I don't know how many people actually have that.
Well, that's just it. They're so obscure. Like you have 8mm Mauser, which to me isn't really enough because they're going too slow right out of the
Right.
muzzle. If it's like a 250-yard gun, 8mm Mauser would be okay if you can get a heavy enough bullet. But we'll just go to 338. We'll pretend we talked about 8mm. So for me, 338. Now you have bore diameter on your side. You generally have sectional density on your side as the bullet weights start escalating, and sectional density skyrockets, which is crudely the bullet's ability to penetrate mass. So if we're talking like 250, 300 yards, I think 338 Federal or cartridges like that, where you can still get away with a short action. I'd like to see like a 225 mono, but then your velocity is going to be pretty peaked. So that's going to really limit your range capability. You could do like a 210 or 200 AccuBond or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but I think you're going to struggle with penetration. He's going to die, but we started out saying that I want it to exit. And,
Yes.
and I think if you want it to exit, you're kind of eliminating the 338 Federal and the short action cartridges. And you have to go up to, like 338.6 at a minimum, but that, again, kind of obscure. Nobody really has those. So then it's what, 338
338.
RPM
Yep.
and
And
338
Win
Win
Mag,
Mag, which are kind of kissing cousins. They're designed differently, but
but they're the same.
they're yeah, they're the
Almost.
same thing. I
Almost
mean,
the same.
their ability to push a cartridge is so similar.
Bullet.
I think their water capacity is within like 2 grains.
Hmm.
That's meaningless. The 7 PRC and 7 Rem Mag have a bigger disparity than
Hmm.
the 338 Weatherby RPM and the 338 Winchester Magnum. And
Hmm.
in most realistic barrel lengths that guys are going to use, 24, 26 inches, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that 2 grain difference. They're going to be the same. So for me, that's kind of where 338 starts, is those two cartridges. And personally, I would choose a 225 TTSX or something like that, monolithic. Um,
What
isn't
about the
Hornady
210
making a
just to get a little more velocity? They make a 210
210?
TTSX.
210, I think you'd be okay. But I think then 210, you're kind of bridging on that, is it going to exit line, because you have that bigger bore diameter and you're losing sectional density by making it lighter. So it's going to, then you're kind of, to me, you're kind of getting into that coin flip. Is it going to exit when you're down to 210? When you go to 225, I think it's going to exit if it's a mono.
Hmm.
Or Hornady's making what, a 230 CX?
They are. That's brand new.
Yeah. I mean, that to me, that's the sweet spot there. As long as you have the magazine length to actually be able to seat the CX and you have the twist rate to stabilize. I mean, you should. I
Yeah.
think it only requires what, a 10 twist.
I think, yeah, basically, most guns are 1 in 10 twists, and just about all of the mono bullets require 1 in 10, unless you're going really heavy mono. I would say
Right.
above 265 or whatever. Then you might need a
Right.
fast.
Yeah. And almost nobody's shooting those.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. So for me, 338, uh, 338 has a ton of flexibility. And this is something I want to talk about, where I have a theory based on actual experience that when you get up to 338, you have a tremendous recoil penalty. However,
Yes.
you start to gain flexibility in bullet construction, where when you're going light, like 210 mono, 225 even, probably mono, maybe bonded. When you get up to 250, then I think you can go bonded. I don't think it needs to be a mono anymore. I think
Hmm.
once you get up to 250, an AccuBond is going to exit no matter where you hit him. As long as it's going, say, 2000 plus, then I think it's going to exit. Even if you hit him square on the shoulder,
Hmm.
it's going through. Because now you have so much mass and sectional density that an inertia, there's something to be said for that, which is really hard to measure. It's going to go through. And then when you go over 250, then I think you can kind of get away with whatever you want. ELDXs,
ELDM.
ELDMs. I don't know. I mean, I've killed elk with a 300 grain burger. It wouldn't be my first choice, only because you can't guarantee it's going to open. If it opens, he's deader than disco. As what I experienced, I hit one at fairly low impact velocity and he fell right on his face. The end. But you can't guarantee it's going to open. So over 250, I don't think the construction matters, but it needs a tip to
Okay.
make sure that it opens, and then you're going to have enough. Even if you hit him right on the shoulder, he's toast.
Yeah.
And what would you say for 338? How does your opinion differ? The same? Would you ever shoot a cup and core? I think you can get away with cup and core over 250 personally, just from what I've seen. But maybe you disagree.
No, I 100% agree. Does that mean I'm going to start loading up some of the, what are they, 280 or something grain ELDMs? No, but
Yeah, there's a 285 ELDM
285.
and a 270 ELDX, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I'm I see no issues with anyone using those.
Right.
Personally, I'm probably not going to
Wouldn't
do
be my
that.
first choice. Yeah.
I just want more velocity. So in the cartridge I have, which is a 340 Weatherby, which is just a little bit slower than a 338 Lapua, I want extra velocity. So the heaviest bullet that I'm realistically will ever take is a 250 grain, and I can push those getting sub MOA to 2950. So
You could kill whatever you wanted out
I
to
know.
600 yards with that combination.
Right.
You just got to hit him. He's done.
Right. Yeah.
250 Accubon, I think that is probably one of the elk killingest bullets on the planet. You can go heavier. Like I said, you can go to the 265 ABLR, but
Don't
that
ask
bullet
me.
only really makes sense if you want to try to ethically kill. And here's where we don't need to get into ethics, but when you want to try to actually ethically kill an elk past 600, 700, 800 yards, that's when that 265 ABLR starts to make sense. But almost nobody's doing that, nor should they be. So that it's kind of like an obsolete bullet, because the only place where it really makes sense, you kind of shouldn't be doing that anyway, you know. And inside of 600 yards, you don't need that bullet. Use the
No.
250.
Yeah. I think the
You're gonna
265
knock. You're
would
gonna
be.
knock him on his. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think the 265 would be great in a 338 Lapua. Um, it's like oil and water in any Weatherby freebore cartridge.
Yeah.
Those
Right.
ABLRs. So
Yep.
I bought some, but the first testing that I ever did, it was like a 6-inch group. I was like, nope, I'm done. This is
Oh,
awful.
that's enough. Usually you'll try to like stubborn it to death and you'll be like, well, maybe I can wring something out of this. But when the first group is 6 inches, what's your line? Is it 3 inches? Like if it's 3 or bigger, you're like, nope.
I'd say
Or
2.
two?
Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
So 6.
Yeah. I just like, oh, there, I wasted $115. Oh boy.
Yeah. He's going to collect dust unless I get a 338 Lapua or something else.
Yeah. Something. Yeah.
So yeah, so it just, I don't know. I mean, I think that bullet is cool. The
I love
BC
the
is
idea of it.
crazy high. Like the concept is unbelievable, but in practice, it's not. It's kind of useless. Like the only place where it makes sense, you really shouldn't be shooting that far anyway. And it'll kill them. Like if you can hit an elk, you have a 338 Lapua and a 265 ABLR, you hit an elk at 1,000 yards, he's dead. But you got to hit him, and there's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to hold still. You got to hit him. Like we don't need to get into that, but it's just
No.
yeah, going over 250, you got a lot of flexibility. And then
Oh, can I
if we
say one
go
more
up,
thing? My minimum, realistically, like I love the idea of a 338 Federal, but it's a dead cartridge. So I think my minimum would be 338 Weatherby RPM and 338 WinMac, just
yeah,
because you can get them.
I agree. Yep, and to me, that's the starting point, and really, that can be the ending point. You
It
don't
can.
need
Yeah.
a bigger cartridge than that. Like even if you used like a 230 CX in a 338 Win Mag or RPM, gave it gas, and you had good precision, that's a 600-yard elk killing machine all day.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to be shooting that far? No, but like, let's say with any of these cartridges, let's say you shoot him at 300, and he kind of started to turn right as you shot, and you hit him far back. So now he can still move, but you hit him. He runs out and he holds up at 580 yards. What are you going to do? You're going to shoot.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to try to put him on the ground, especially if he stops and lets you shoot at him. You're going to hurl something over there, even if it's a wing and a prayer. It'd be nice that if it had enough to do the job when it got there, so even if we don't intend to shoot these things that far, it's still a good idea to make sure that it has it in case you have to. So going up to 35, to me, the minimum is 35 Whelen, because we have really big bore diameter and really heavy bullets. You still have a recoil penalty, not going to be pleasant to shoot most of the time.
Really limited on distance just because it's a big rock.
Yeah, you're shooting a pie pan. BCs are terrible, so but then when you're big and heavy like that, you can get away with like even partitions.
Hmm.
I'd probably shoot the 250 personally rather than the 225. Same deal. Bullet construction, you can get away with murder when you get up to these big bullets, because if you think about it, even if the bullet doesn't expand, it's still already the diameter of a 7 millimeter when it's fully expanded. So even if it doesn't do anything, it's still bigger than a 7 mil at full expansion. So the bullet construction isn't super critical. It's just whatever you can get going quick that'll group decent. But then you
Hmm.
really got to limit your range, like you said, because the BCs are terrible.
I Do you want to talk anything else about any 35 calibers? I mean, there's some cool magnums, 358 STA or 358 Norma, but I don't know.
They're all cool, but they're just so obsolete and rare, and like nobody has
Yeah.
them. And I would say anything 35 Whalen or bigger. Um, if you have a 358 Norma or something like that, great. That's an elk killing machine. Aim for the shoulder, and he's toast. Um, but we don't need to dwell on the cartridges just because they're so obscure and weird.
All those 358 Norma fans are going to be mad at you. Anyway, should we go up to
Well, it's a
375?
great cartridge. It's just nobody got them. Like
Yeah.
if you have
Yeah.
one, great, use it. Put a 250 plus in it, and you're gonna flatten whatever you shoot at. And then
375.
yeah, 370. So 9.3 by 62, same deal. Heavy bullet, aim for the shoulder. He's toast. 375, same thing. I would say because you really have a lot of bore diameter, you're going to lose sectional density really fast if you go light. So for me, 375, 250 grain and heavier. And really, the cartridge, I would say like 375 Ruger, 375 H&H or bigger.
Is the starting point for
Yeah.
375. Yeah.
Otherwise, you just can't get the things going. They're so heavy.
Yeah, I agree.
But like they have tremendous potential. Like I own a 375 H&H, and I'm shooting a 270 grain in the 28s.
Wow.
Yeah, upper 4,000 foot-pounds of energy. And I have a 24-inch barrel Browning. So plenty of mustard for anything you're going to encounter on this continent.
Oh, yeah.
But same thing with bullet construction. I think 250 and higher, it doesn't really matter. Just kind of pick your poison. If you go with a mono, make sure it's going fast enough to expand. I think the sweet spot bullet for anything on this continent in 375 is probably the 260 AccuBond.
Okay.
To me, that's kind of your do-all, where you could shoot a deer if you didn't have any other guns, and it's actually going to expand. But even if you had a coastal brown bear in Alaska, I wouldn't feel undergunned with a 375 H&H and a 260 AccuBond. He's done.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I like to shoot a lot, and it's just I wouldn't want something that I shoot every 5 years. That's not any fun. Same with my H&H. Like I have one because for reasons I won't go into, but I don't shoot it much. Not because it's unpleasant. It's just how often do you need to get a 375 out? It's not like I need to practice. I'm going to take my 375. Unless I was going to like go to Africa, then I'd put a couple hundred rounds through it before I went over there. But
yeah, or if you're going on an Alaska hunt.
Yeah,
like if I was going to go expensive. If you're going to go do like a brown bear hunt.
Right. But, like if I was going to go on a moose or caribou hunt where there were brown bears, I'd probably bring it. Or 338 or bigger. If I was going on a brown bear hunt, I'd bring a 375. No questions asked. I'm not bringing anything smaller. Forget it. It ain't worth it. And plus, it's like trying to sneak up on a dump truck that's slowly working its way down your street. He doesn't care about you. He's doing his own thing. And like, I've seen guys with bows just walk up and shoot the things. So if I have a 375H, with bows, let's talk about
that
crazy.
Takes some balls.
Yeah, no, there isn't enough money to get me to do that. But if you can just walk up and shoot them with a bow, and I can walk up with my 375 H&H and a 270 grain TSX or 260 AccuBond, he's done. If I got,
Yeah.
especially if I got a magazine full of 3 of them, he's
Yeah.
toast.
Yeah.
So that would be my Alaska cartridge, but still suitable for elk. It's more than you need, you know,
Hmm.
but nothing saying you can't use it if you have one and you want a little extra insurance. It's a good choice.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Tim, for coming on. This is just part one. We're going to deep dive into what you really need for elk hunting. What are the realistic terrain and all of that stuff, and the compromises you got to make for that. I mean, there is no perfect rifle setup, so we're always
Right.
having to make compromises. But I don't know.
Right.
I hopefully we
Think
can
about
turn
that,
this into a
guys.
multiple video series where we can help people out that maybe get 1 or 2 chances in their life to go elk hunting. And so, what is
Right.
really important and
Yep.
what's not?
That's what our goal is for this series of videos is try to give you as much information as you can so you can make a good educated decision and put yourself in a situation to be successful. This was just the beginning and we went an hour, which is crazy. This might
Yep.
be your longest video ever.
Uh,
But it's important. You know, we start with what are the minimums to ethically take them, and then we'll start getting into specifics, and we'll see where it goes. I don't have a limit on how many videos we'll do on this. Maybe you do, but we'll see where it takes us.
Sounds good.
So thanks for having me on, Austin. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.